Running. Image.
Are we live?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have to work on my cue for the guest, y'all. Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger, Maxwell Ivy, and this is the Accessibility Advantage, where I advocate for more inclusion of and accessibility for people with disabilities through communication and collaboration rather than compliance and shame. You can find me at the accessibilityadvantage.com or on linkedin.com/Maxwell Ivy, I-V-E-Y. And a couple of housekeeping points. First, I am blind and using a screen reader, so I probably will not be able to respond to comments during the podcast like other hosts do, but I will get to them after I'm through, assuming y'all have some contributions along the way. Please have some contributions. Second, as you can see, my guest is already on stage with me. That's because, at least as far as I know, there's no keyboard commands for me to bring him on and off stage, and this was just a simpler thing to do. And then finally, since I am an advocate for accessibility, I want to make sure I do the best practices, which is at least the parts I can control. So for my audio description, y'all, I am a 59-year-old Caucasian male from Houston, Texas. I am a large man over 6'5". I have short or medium length curly brown hair with gray and white because it ain't been dyed recently. Brownish green eyes. I'm wearing a white button-down shirt with my Lucky Jerry Garcia tie, which is red, blue, and purple. And before I introduce my guest, just one last thing. I hope that you're going to be inspired by our conversation about how Kay has come to appreciate accessibility even more so, and that it will challenge you to want to make sure your product, services, or content are accessible, and that you'll reach out to me for help with that. So today, my guest is Kay Honig. He left a corporate job in Germany about 10 years ago or so to start his own travel business in Mexico. He now runs Kay Tours, which is I'd say a custom travel company or boutique travel company out of Cancun. And he's grown it from a one-man operation to a very strong business by focusing on the customers, improving automation, and building strong teams. And you can find him at Kay.Tours. And so, Kay, I want to thank you, welcome you to the Accessibility Advantage, and also thank you for being willing to do this with me the first time, because I think we're both a little nervous today, sir.
Certainly. Thank you very much for the great introduction, Maxwell. Thank you for having me. It is absolutely an honor being here. And in the last 5 minutes, I already have learned so many things. We will need to change and adapt. And it's definitely very, very educative being in touch with you and being here on this podcast. I will try my first
audio description.
Yes, that was very impressive, and I've never done this, never thought about that. I think we will hear that very often during the podcast, that I've never thought about that. Well, I'm 45 years old, a white male Caucasian, blonde hair. I would say, I always like to say it's that type of blonde you get from a street dog. And it's not, well, anyway, my eyes are green. One in centimeters, 180 centimeters. That's roughly 6 feet tall. And I'm sitting here in my home. In the background, you see a lava lamp and a modern picture. I would call it like that. I'm hoping that helps. I'm wearing a white grayish polo shirt.
Yes, and modern art is always hard to describe, even for the artists that created it. Sometimes,
yes,
Yes. But the sun bleached hair and the lava lamp in the background. This all kind of lends to a brand that is very focused for you. So, what I'd like you to do is first tell people just a little bit about yourself and how you managed to quit the corporate thing and take on such a challenging new business as running a tour company in Mexico.
That is a great question. I was very happy in that job. I was traveling a lot for the company in Central North America, and due to a merger of that company, a couple of things changed inside that company, and it was for me a great time to move on. And due to my business travels, I knew Mexico. And I fell in love with Cancun. If you get the chance to visit Cancun, I think everybody understands the white sand and beaches and the turquoise waters and the palm trees and the culture and the people. They are very lovely, very warm-hearted, and very welcoming. So that was for me a great time to move on and move out of Europe in general. I never wanted to get old or become old in Germany, so that was a great opportunity. And ending up in the tour business was more honestly like a coincidence. One night, a friend of mine I met here, who was running a tour business in Sian Khan, which is a natural biosphere reservoir, asked me if I could help him with the translation, since his Dutch-speaking guide was fallen ill. And he literally invited me on his tour, saying, "Hey, all you have to do is translating." And I'm like, okay, I get to see something new. I get paid, and all I have to do is translate. And it turned out to be one of the best days in my entire life, because it was not even hard work, because the Dutch people speak very well English. He was explaining everything in English. All I had to do was asking them, "Do you guys understand what he said?" And they were saying, "Yes, we understand English." And like, "Do you prefer me to translate it to Dutch?" And they were like, "No, hell no, we go." That was my first day of work. And well, it that's how it evolved. Let me say it like that. I became a tour guide there because I really loved that area where we are heading to. It's very rich in flora and fauna. We see crocodiles. There are 375 different species of birds, manatees, wild dolphins, wild sea turtles. So it's a super lovely and beautiful place. And that's how I ended up becoming a tour guide. And it all started from there, me falling in love with this type of activity, making the people fall in love with this beautiful country, hoping that they are coming back with some new memories, and as well as an ambassador for Mexico and for the this area. And yeah, little by little, it grew into a company, and we're now 10 years in. I'm living since 13 years in Mexico, and 10 years now where we are running Kay Tours.
Right. Now, this isn't my inspirational show, y'all, but I want y'all to take note of the fact he was asked a simple question with a simple offer, and he said yes. And now look where he is 13 years later, y'all. Pay attention to that. These lessons will show up along the way if you keep your heart and mind open, even if our focus is accessibility. So, I reached out to you through Podmatch, which is a site created by my good friend Alex Sanfilippo, and he has had an investment in accessibility from the very beginning. But the one thing I learned more and more is that most people, it isn't that they purposely are trying to make things hard on people with disabilities. It's just they don't think about it. So when I reached out to you about coming on the podcast, you basically had the same answer. It was something you had been exposed to, but had never really taken an active, proactive approach to making it part of your business. Is that correct?
That is totally correct. Yes, you're absolutely right with that.
Right. And because I know that over the years, you've had individuals who have reached out to you one-to-one and said that I have a disability. I would like to come to Mexico and take one of your tours. And so I'd like to have you talk about first, what was your emotional reaction? How did you feel about that situation the first time somebody said, "Hey, I'm in a wheelchair," or "Hey, I'm a blind person and I want to take one of your tours, but I'm going to need some help"?
We are To be honest, it's not. If we know about it, it's not a big deal for us. It's something, with all due respect, and something super special. We are focused and specialized in customizing tours, no matter what is the nature of the request. So if someone is reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, I need help with a wheelchair, or I need help with crutches, or I have." Well, in your example, I have a disability with my eyes. I don't see well, or I don't see at all. Those are things where we easily can adjust and adapt, as long as we are being aware about. But what I've realized in the conversation with you is that we are already one step late or behind by not proactively working on our website and expressing that. So someone who's I mean, we express that we are a private tour operator. We do try to show that we are able to customize the tours, but it is certainly not a proactive approach towards those that need more accessibility, and that is something I definitely want to start working on, to be more inclusive on those things. But when someone reaches out for us, since those tours are private, we can easily adapt and make everything happen towards in order to tailor towards the needs of our guests.
Right. So what I'm hoping here is for the entrepreneur who isn't specialized, who has a general business or has a larger audience, or who still doesn't believe he even has potential customers with a disability. Can you share your process? How did you approach those first couple of inquiries? And if you have an example to share, I'd appreciate that.
Certainly. First of all, the advice to other entrepreneurs is try, yeah, I mean, with your example, close your eyes and try to navigate a website. I feel bad that I have never thought about that. And before we started this conversation, this chat, I was literally listening into you navigating the website, and it's all read out loud. So that's where it already starts. Be aware about those things, and then requests. Like I said, for us, the classic situation is literally we are bringing a wheelchair, so we have to adjust the itinerary to have either a van with a ramp. We have to adjust. Okay, are there the destinations where we're heading to? We have to make sure that they're accessible, that they have ramps, and that is like, since we know all the destinations very well, since we're going almost on a daily basis to all those destinations, we know that pretty well. And what is happening in our operation is that we tag that reservation with the necessary information, so everybody involved is aware about the necessary changes.
Right. So it sounds like you are talking about something that I love to do myself, which is most business owners either haven't thought about accessibility or they've got so many other tasks they really don't have space in their brain or time in their day to think about it. So I like to reach out to business owners before I use their website or before I buy a product, or and go, hey, I don't expect to have problems, but these are my challenges. I want you to be aware of this. It sounds like you're saying that in your corner of the travel tourism world, as long as they reach out to you in advance, let you know they have a disability, you can handle the accommodations.
Certainly, yes, we depend on that heads up, obviously. But then on the other hand, what you just said, being aware about that is, I think, unfortunately, where you come in with your podcast, or with I saw you giving conferences or speaking on conferences. Those are things where people are becoming aware about. I honestly, as the owner of the company, or as the operator, let me say like that, or a firefighter, magician, call me what you want. But you are focused on so many things, and unfortunately, these details and I don't want to diminish the value of it, but these details you overlook totally. It's not on your radar, to be honest. I um I see that the main screen, just to describe it very quickly here in the chat, is black. And in the left side, there is a small window where you are, Max, and underneath I am. May I ask your permission to share our website there or something
Yes,
else?
please go ahead. And I just want, while you're doing that, I'm going to comment on what you
Thank
said about listening to me navigating StreamYard before we went live. I want to tell you that, in my opinion, your website is more accessible than theirs.
Well, that means a lot already.
Yeah, they got a much bigger wallet than you do, and a much bigger team. The other thing I want you that I talked to you about before, and I've looked a little more about your website since then. And so I like to, when I reach out to a site owner or business owner, I like to think of some things that they're doing well and some things that they can improve on. And so the two things that I noticed about your website that you're doing well, but maybe you could do a little better, is
certainly
you are definitely using headings, but they're heading 1 and heading 2s. You really need to group your types of information together a little better and have some H3s, because when people navigate a website with a screen reader or other adaptive technology, it takes us a long time to get through all the information. And
understood.
Headings are your friend. They will help the person using adaptive technology to get to what they need to get to much quicker. And the sooner they get to the stuff, the less likely they are to give up and go to somebody else's website. So, just a little more organized heading structure and some H3s to go along with the H2s is what I would say there. But I want to give you props for a couple of your images. You have an image next to your testimonials page, the link to it at least, and it says animation. It says man scrolling on his cell phone, looking at it, writing with a stylus or pen, something like that, with the word testimonial. I really love that alt text description. That actually told me something about the image that I needed to know. And if a guy is doing it on his cell phone, he must really like you, because otherwise he just wait till he was at his laptop.
Yes,
that's the implication for me. And I talk to people about how alt text should tell the story. The other one I really loved was the collage on your tours link, where it says 6 different pictures in a collage, but it mentions a large whale shark, people in a boat, people snorkeling.
Yes.
Obviously, it would be great if there was a little more detail about the people that are enjoying that boat ride and snorkeling, but most people wouldn't even go as far as you did. So really appreciate you doing that. And then the only other thing I noticed on your website, and this is something that happens to a lot of people because it's not currently part of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, and that is the more information you have on a page, the harder it is for a disabled person. So minimalism and simplistic design are key to accessibility, but they're not in the guidelines for accessibility. You do a great job with simplicity. But
happy to hear that.
Yeah, simplicity. I mean, your website, you didn't add a bunch of fancy stuff just because you read somewhere online you had to add a bunch of fancy stuff. Okay, so I give you props for simplicity, and I think you have a good start on minimalism. So these are things I talk about that not everybody else would tell you about when it comes to accessibility.
Much appreciated.
I just want to get that out there, and so we can talk about your site in the future. I'd love to see what you do with it as you go forward.
I certainly plan on hiring an expert there, because I think I can do, after our conversations we can do a couple of things, but I think we can achieve much more by having an expert in this field. What you just described sounds so much like me. You were saying the headers, H3 sections. I hardly or never use them because, and my apologies, I feel sorry about, because I never thought about it, that they will be helpful for blind people reading that, where the screen reader is reading it out loud. So for me, it was always the angle of SEO, the search engine optimization. And I'm like, okay, I need a header 1 and a header 2. But then once it gets down to header 3, 4, I honestly, and that's as well lack of expertise and knowledge, I just didn't consider, I didn't bother.
Well,
And
look, that's the thing. Lack of accessibility is not a vendetta. And I didn't bring you on the podcast to try to make you feel bad, Kay.
it doesn't feel,
I
no, it,
okay, because I'm actually impressed. I've seen a lot worse from people from a lot bigger companies than yours. And the most important thing with that, you know what the most important thing with accessibility is? The most important thing is a sincere desire to improve accessibility. The rest
I
of the
couldn't
stuff,
agree
we can
more.
figure all
Yes.
the rest of the stuff out. As long as you actually want to improve access and are willing to work on it on a regular basis, because it's not something that stays constant, because your website isn't going to stay constant. If
No,
you'll
we're
do
working
that,
on the new one
if
right
you'll do
now.
that, yeah, yeah. So if you'll do that, you'll get our respect and love pretty much throughout the disability community. So those are the things. Now, one thing I also wanted to talk to you about, because I travel. I haven't traveled outside the U.S. yet. I went across the border once when I was in college, but that was one of those trips where you cross the border, you hit the duty free store, and then you cross back across the border. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So, um, but when I do travel in the U.S., I have to face not only the potential dangers or concerns for myself when I travel, but also the fears and concerns of people around me. And that could be my family, but it sometimes is also my social media following or my close friends who know me from other parts of the country or the world. So I was hoping you would talk a little bit um, about the level of safety in the area where you live in general, and then maybe how you feel as far as for people with disabilities traveling in the area and traveling with your company specifically in that area.
It's like a great and pretty common question when we're talking about safety or security, because obviously, especially in the United States, in the media, it's not making a good, not making a catchy headline if someone is saying Maxwell had a great time in Cancun. There are obviously more dramatic headlines, and I would lie if I say there is nothing going on here. But compared to other major cities in the entire world, if you compare Cancun, or where we also offer tours, Merida or Mexico City, these cities are, if you apply common sense, are safe to navigate. When it comes to accessibility, I think they can still improve, but they have been very conscious, making conscious decisions over the last, I would say, last 5 years. You can see here and there that they are improving. You see signage in the pave. My apologies. In the sidewalk for blind people. You see the ramps there. Those are now in nowadays standards here in the bigger cities. I don't want to say that it is the same as it would be in I don't know, in Vancouver, Seattle, or in New York, or let's say first world countries. But they are certainly making an effort. I also can confirm that it is safe to vacation here. I'm living since 13 years here, and I do not live in the touristy areas. And I have never experienced anything where I felt not secure or where I felt unsafe. Let me say it like that. So 13 years living here. I lived in Amsterdam. I am born and grown up in Berlin. So those are major cities as well. And I would really like to compare Cancun or Playa del Carmen or Tulum with these cities. If you are not applying common sense, if you are looking for drugs, or if you are in the nightlife and looking for trouble, you certainly find it. That is definitely something I can confirm. And circling back to your initial question, touring with us, we certainly want our guests to feel comfortable. Our credo is to create worry-free experiences, and I am a huge ambassador of saying that this starts at where you find us from the first moment of the first contact. That is usually the internet or someone is talking about us. That is where the journey with K Tours starts, and that should be as comfortable and obviously safe as possible. And we're working hard on that. We are on Facebook groups helping people that are not necessarily asking for tours, and we want them to have a worry-free and quality time here in Mexico.
Well, I appreciate that. I also wanted to give you a chance to speak to a challenge that I feel like you may often get blamed for, but really is beyond your control, and that is how you manage cooperating or working alongside other business, such as, say, the local airport, the hotels that people book in with when they're taking one of your tours. I imagine that's very challenging from an accessibility point of view.
Honestly, the communication is pretty well, and everybody. That's why I fell in love with this country. Everybody is very helpful and very keen to make everybody feel home, comfortable. So I was about to say maybe it's a Mexican thing. The people are very, very welcoming, and they want you to feel good of being here. So answering your question, the communication between other hotels, if we would say, if the hotel reaches out to us, we have someone that needs special help, or they will make sure that we get all the information we need, and vice versa. It is honestly, you mentioned the word challenge. I don't consider it as very challenging, as long as we have the information and we are all working hand in hand together on making it as easy as possible. Obviously, there are always challenges, but then you have 3-4 people around you trying to solve it.
Well, that's very encouraging, and I often reach out to speak at events. So hopefully, one of those events will be taking place in Cancun or one of these other cities that you work out of, because it does sound like y'all are that you have a pretty good handle on it, and that within your own business that you're committed to doing even better with the digital accessibility side of it going forward. So I appreciate that.
Same here. Like I said, I'm learning by the minute. We're 27 minutes in, but well, the pre conversations pre to the before that chat or before that podcast recording, I already learned so many things, and it's now on me to execute on those.
Right. So what I'd love to do is to thank you for coming on the podcast and for your attitudes about accessibility. I'd love for you to share one of your more popular tours, or a tour that you're currently wanting to get the word out more about, say. What would you say is your signature tour, or one that would whet the appetites?
Thank you very much. My personal, I would say 2 tours are my personal highlights, which are the swimming with the whale sharks. That is a seasonal happening here, the migration of the whale sharks. It's the biggest fish in the world from May to September. We're currently doing that. I'm checking every morning the operation, how's the weather, how are the people getting on board, and there's a lot of misconception as well, because there are sharks, but then they are totally harmless. So that is something I would highly recommend. It's challenging. There we go. Thinking about accessibility, because getting in a boat and getting out of a boat is certainly not the easiest. There are some ladders or to climb. Other tours, signature wise speaking, the most popular tour and most frequented tour here is Chichen Itza, which is the most popular archaeological site in Mexico, and that is definitely a very impressive one to visit. And for the rest, like I said, what we are really good at is doing the niches, going into places that are not so popular or nobody knows about. We have wild monkey sanctuaries where you get to see spider and howler monkeys, which is really impressive. Or what we have here as well, cenotes, which are natural sinkholes. Everybody wants. They are coming here, are reading about them, and some of them are really popular, and therefore they're getting really overcrowded. And what we like to do is take our guests to private cenotes where they are alone. And when we're talking about experiencing them with all senses, what we'd really like to do is be in such a cave system, turn off the lights, pitch black, and all of a sudden you feel like you're being robbed by the sense of seeing, and you're being robbed by the sense of hearing. If you're not talking anymore, it's you don't hear and you don't see anymore. It's giving our guests definitely a very rich experience, and that's what we are working hard very hard on, trying to make a difference from the mass tourism.
Well, I appreciate that. And I hope that people will check out your website, k.tours.
Thank you.
And we do appreciate your sincere investment in accessibility, both the digital and the in-person, and making it so people of all abilities can have these great experiences alongside able-bodied folks. So I appreciate that. And I'm just going to do a short close here, and then we'll end the live video for today. So I want to thank Kay for coming on the podcast. I said you can find him at k.tours. It's great to be able to support an entrepreneur who has gone from pretty much a one-man band to a very professional orchestra, for lack of a better expression to finish that off with.
You could phrase it like that.
I'm trying. And again, I am the blind blogger, Maxwell Ivy. This is The Accessibility Advantage. You can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com or linkedin.com/Maxwell Ivy. Ivy is spelled I-V-E-Y. I do want to help you make sure that your products, services, and content are accessible so that you can leverage the power of the disability community in your business. And I look forward to seeing y'all next time. I appreciate you spending your time with me today, because I know you have lots of demands on your time or opportunities for education, inspiration, or entertainment. So thank you. And please take care out there now. So I'm going to finish with a little bit of my song. Disabled people, we tell our friends and share to our social sites. Don't think about how hard it is. Just focus on those dollar signs, 'cause accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person.
Skip to content, link, image, StreamYard logo. You are currently on a link. To click this link, 141 item and stream button. And stream button.
Thank you so much, Max. I also would like to thank you.
Okay, now I paused it, right?
No, we are still live.
StreamYard studio.
Okay.
Web content. Item 33 items. Forward dim button.
Just wanted to as well
I don't mind this at the end, because most people aren't going to
full
listen.
screen button. Small screen layout. Full screen button. Closing. Item choose.
Thank you so much. You're doing an awesome job, and once again, in raising awareness, you're doing a wonderful job, and I also want to wish you all the best and most of